Today's edition of Mac Voices is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron delivers fresh ingredients and recipes to your door so you can cook something new and interesting tonight. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by visiting blueapron.com/macvoices. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. And by MacVoices Magazine, our free Flipboard magazine that brings you some of the best Mac, iPhone, and iPad productivity tips on the web. High in signal, low in noise, just like MacVoices, MacVoices Magazine includes information on how you can get more out of your Apple technology. Subscribe at macvoices.com/magazine or search for MacVoices Magazine on Flipboard. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we have another Take Control author back this time for another revision to an important book, and it's one that I used as a Bible for a little while in trying to accomplish what the objective was. And so I'm hoping that maybe I get some really great tips, because I haven't been able to achieve exactly what I wanted. So we'll find out. So we have with us Mr. Joe Kissell. Joe, it's great to have you. Welcome back.
Hello there. And, I did actually write a book with Bible in the name once, Mac Security Bible. I'm glad you think of my book as the Bible. Usually, the Bible doesn't get substantial revisions like this one. You'll never guess the new 7th commandment.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
it's delightful that I can rewrite the Bible. So awesome.
Right off the rails, right away. No question.
What can I say?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the hair is still purple. It's turning
into purple. I don't know if it shows up in like video and whatever. This is a little bit different shade, different cut. My hairstylist is in an experimental phase, which is all good. So
yeah, well,
we're gonna play with it for a while. See what happens.
I like it. It's going just a little toward a mohawk.
Or as I like to call it, a Joe Hawk.
A Joe Hawk, of course. Mm-hmm. But I also don't want to have the viewers miss out on the fact that you have a purple T-shirt to complement it, even a purple pen on the purple T-shirt.
There's a purple pen stuck to my collar. That's right. I usually don't go to such. I could have put my purple Apple Watch band on, but
Yeah. Well,
you got to draw the line somewhere.
Next time.
Purple underwear? No, not purple underwear.
I don't know. We don't need to know. Thank you. On to the book.
Yeah.
This time we're going to talk about the 3rd edition of Take Control of Your Paperless Office.
Yes.
And I'm kind of anxious to see, Joe, what you can do for me, because the world keeps throwing paper at me. I've gotten a lot better at getting rid of paper, and personally maybe not generating nearly as much paper as I used to. But I still have to deal with paper coming in and the information contained thereon.
Oh, man, I feel you on the paper coming in. Our insurance company, we get these, I don't know how many, this is 6 or 8 sheets of paper kind of every week and it says, this is not a bill. It's an explanation of benefits, pages and pages and pages of benefits, plus their privacy policy and all this crap. We have already opted in for paperless statements, paperless everything, but this appears to be something that cannot be made available in paperless form. And basically our insurance company just hates trees. That's all I can figure. They just hate trees. So we get all this stuff, and it's it's an explanation of benefits, which amounts to, we've paid everything we were supposed to pay. You're good. So you really had to send me 10 sheets of paper every week to tell me that? It's infuriating. So it's kind of 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, or whatever. we try, but some people just really, really hate trees.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, there are also legislative barriers here that some things have to be delivered by paper. They have to be delivered in certain ways, by mail every year. Privacy statements are notoriously that way.
Oh, yeah. I just got one of those from my the company that supplies my car loan. I just got their annual privacy statement, and every year it says the same thing. You can you can opt out of sharing this kind of information, which of course I do. And it claims that this opt-out is good until you tell us otherwise. Like, well, I wasn't going to tell you otherwise. Did you really need to send me another 4 sheets of paper? Don't get me started. Anyway, yes. So paper still is a nightmare.
Yeah. But I must say, and I'm serious about this, taking your book and implementing a number of the things in it definitely has made my life easier, because now the paper I do get gets scanned. The paper I get doesn't get filed anymore. It gets boxed, if you will, so that if I really have to go through it, yeah, I can do it, but I'm not spending all that time and trying to categorize it and file it. It's so much easier to flip through the PDFs that are on my Mac if I need to access a statement or something for taxes or whatever. So thank you for all of that. And now, what do we have new that has justified a third revision to the Paperless Office book?
Well, I'll tell you, as often happens with my books, I keep lists of, for every book that I've written, I keep a list. Like anytime somebody reports an error, I put it on the list. Anytime there's a new app or a new product that has something to do with that book, put it on the list. Anytime I notice, an interesting article that I might want to point to, or something that has changed out in the world that's relevant to that book, or a reader has written in to ask a question or to say, oh, I really wish you covered this, all goes on the list. So I look at my list and I'm like, well, it's kind of getting up there. We ought to probably revise this book. But I figure, oh, it's not that long. It's like 12 things. And then I start working on the book and I realize, item number 3 was, update the list of scanners. And there's like 99 new scanners in the last 3 years. So everything kind of just balloons, and so the list of changes in this book is extraordinary. I was just telling you before we started recording that Tanya has asked me to pare down my list of changes before we actually publish this thing, because nobody wants to read through all these things. And the list of changes doesn't even include details about which new scanners exist and which new software exists. That's all in an online appendix. So there's quite a lot that has changed. So new stuff out in the world, new scanners and some old scanners that have disappeared, new software, new cloud services, new other kinds of services that are pertinent to a paperless office, and again, some that have disappeared or that have changed a lot. They've raised their prices, or they have changed their offerings in some way for better or for worse. New electronic payment options, new processes that people have come up with. A couple of readers actually said, thanks for the Apple scripts that you included with your previous version of the book, but I use this different app. Here's the Apple script that I came up with. Maybe you want to include this new Apple script with your new book. So great, sure, fine. So new Apple scripts. And even the apps that I previously had Apple scripts for, so Acrobat Pro and PDF Pen and Read Iris, the apps have changed sufficiently that the old scripts don't work with the new versions anymore. So I spent hours and hours and hours revising all the Apple scripts, and quite a lot of time, days redoing all the online appendixes that list Mac-compatible document scanners and document scanning software, and so much more. So basically, if you have not already undertaken the Paperless Office project, you'll find very, very up-to-date information here that will help you make smart decisions about what to do. But also, if you already have been doing stuff like scanning documents and using OCR, there's a whole chapter about, new stuff that you might want to be aware of, decisions you might want to reconsider now that the world has changed. You might want to, switch to different software, or make, change your decision between storing scan stuff locally versus in the cloud, or you might want to consider a newer scanner model, or various other things. So it's whether you're starting from scratch or not, there's tons and tons of new material here for you.
I hope that you just kind of slid over there that, if you haven't done this before, I hope that folks who have not done it before, because maybe it was a little too daunting or it wasn't enough on their priority list, I really hope that they will undertake it, because you make it easy. You kind of give us workflows, you give us equipment recommendations, and so as a result, I didn't find it that difficult. I mean, yes, you had to carve a few new paths in your brain to figure out exactly how you're going to do things and set up a few new workflows, depending on your personal circumstance. But other than that, it really does make a big, big difference. And it makes such a big difference to have a guide like this to take you down that path.
Yeah, well, I certainly try, and in this edition of the book, I've taken reader comments to heart as much as I can. I've tried to be even more detailed and more explicit about the workflow, like exactly what happens. It's not just like, well, you scan it and then you run the OCR and then you file it. I've tried to be a lot more detailed about what I do, and I've tried to say, here's what I do. That's not necessarily what you want to do, but you asked, so okay, here's what I do, and details about naming files, for example, because that seems to bog a lot of people down. How, you've just scanned this statement from your insurance company or whatever it is. What do you name that? Or does it matter if you even name it at all? So I talk about that kind of thing. And, it was kind of amazing to me when I was looking, I look at all the major manufacturers, Canon and Epson and Fujitsu and Brother and Ivina and Visioneer, like all the different companies that make document scanners. And I was just floored at how many new models have appeared in the last few years, especially in the portable scanner category. There are just dozens and dozens. It blew me away. And some of these are really good. I mean, Epson has this new model. Somebody mentioned it to me in an email just before I started working on this book. Joe, have you seen this scanner? What do you think of it? Do you like it better than the Fujitsu? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I haven't heard of this yet, so let's investigate. And it's this new Epson model that it's cordless, and it's very, very small, and it has a sheet feeder, and it's a duplex scanner, and it's crazy fast. It's like as fast as a desktop scanner, only it's portable. And like, wow, that's really neat. And it turns out like a couple weeks later, that shows up on the Wirecutter as their top pick for a document scanner. So what it feels like to me is that this is kind of the new hot area. It feels like scanners are achieving the level of popularity that printers once had. Like we're not printing so much now, but boy, are we scanning. And so that's like the new thing that, well, before, as I'm equipping my new office, I got to have a computer and I'm not a printer, but definitely a scanner. So it feels like this idea of the paperless office has started to achieve kind of a critical mass, and that's quite exciting for me.
Agreed. And I've let's see, over that that shoulder right there, I've got one of the Fujitsu ScanSnaps. It's several years old now. I really want a new one, but this one just won't break. It just goes on, and I can't justify buying a new one until something happens to this.
I have the same scanner you have, and I was a little bit surprised that Fujitsu has not released kind of a new one in that line in a few years. It seems like any day now they should probably, of course, they'll wait till like the day after my book comes out, and then they'll release a new model. But Fujitsu has released a new ScanSnap scanner that I mentioned in the book that is completely different from the kind that you and I have. And this is like the new category of scanner that's becoming interesting now. So we used to have flatbeds. They still exist, but like that was what everybody got. Now, like document scanners where you put in a stack of stuff and it just feeds them through, that's what everybody wants. But now there's the next category, and that's book scanners. So basically you have a platform, and then an arm that comes up and an arm that goes over, and a camera that's pointing down and has maybe some lights on the side of it. So you stick your book on the platform, and you open it up, and it snaps a picture. You flip the page, snaps a picture, flip the page, snaps a picture. So it can snap two facing pages almost as fast as you can flip. And then it has software that, number one, edits, like it adjusts for the page curl. So it flattens the image so that it doesn't look like it's going like this. And then it actually edits out your finger that you're using to hold down the pages. And then it can do OCR, so it can take your paper books and turn them into ebooks effectively. Now that's really cool. And So I'm looking at these and I'm thinking, well, boy, I could use that space for other stuff. I love my books, but they don't have to be in paper. It's fine if they're digital. But a lot of these either aren't available in electronic format, or I'd have to like basically buy them all over again. I can't, I wouldn't save any money. So I'm like, well, let's see. The cost of the scanner is this, and the number of books I have is this. And it's like, well, it would end up costing me, I don't know, a little less than $1. These are expensive scanners, by the way.
Sure.
It ended up costing me probably a little less than $1 per book to scan all of my books. And I'm tempted by this. I can't quite justify the cost right now, but boy, that is a really, really tempting idea.
Because you have nothing else to do, too.
Oh, I have nothing else to do. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I you know me. I'm just a slacker. I don't get up until 2 in the afternoon and have my 3 martini lunch, and then
But I'm sure you can get a couple articles out of the whole project. No question in my mind about that.
I'm sure I could.
Yeah. Joe, I would love to, have you talk about the whole book, but we don't have time for that. So let's hit on some high spots here, or some things that you think are really important. But one I'm particularly interested in is any changes or in cloud service and under that heading, privacy and security, because we're seeing so much about some of this stuff right now. And and in this area, it's particularly important because the things you may be scanning could be documents from your bank, documents from your insurance company, documents from your broker, your investment advisor, the kind of things that you really would prefer to have, private.
Yeah, it's tricky. So a lot of stuff has happened in the cloud. The last time the book was updated before now was actually 2013, I believe, and it was 3 or 4 years ago. And I remember writing at that time, you don't really want to save your documents to iCloud, but I'm really hoping that in the future, iCloud has some new way of storing data that will make it a lot easier to get. So what I was hinting at there was the eventual introduction of iCloud Drive, which now feels like it's just been around forever, but it actually wasn't around. It didn't exist when the last version of the book was produced. So, there's iCloud Drive, and there are lots and lots of cloud destinations. There's the, obviously Dropbox and Microsoft OneDrive, and, all the whole long list, with lists in the book, of course, of all these different cloud storage providers. So other than the change in iCloud Drive, it's not so much that there are new cloud storage providers, but one thing that has happened is there is a new trend. It existed before. I mentioned it before, but it has kind of blossomed now, and that is this idea of scanning directly to the cloud. So you have a scanner with Wi-Fi, and you hook it up to your network, and you go through some process to give it your Evernote credentials or your Dropbox credentials or whatever, some cloud service. And you put in your document, you press the button, and the file never appears on a computer at all. It just goes straight to the cloud. And then once it's in the cloud, you look at it in your web browser. You can usually search them. You can do other stuff in the cloud. And this is what everybody seems to think is cool nowadays, or at least the scanner manufacturers think is cool. Oh, you can scan depending on the scanner and the model, whatever, you can scan without having a computer at all. There are some that actually go through your computer to the cloud, but there are others that go directly to the cloud. So that seems neat, I guess, but honestly, that is something that I have never personally wanted to do. I've never wanted to scan directly to the cloud for a couple of reasons, and one of them, as you said, is privacy. None of these places are going to guarantee that nobody is going to be able to see your private data. They will probably try pretty hard to keep it from, hackers, keep it from outside people. But anyone working, someone working at Dropbox or at Apple or at wherever does have the technical ability to see your stuff, to say nothing of, giving access to law enforcement or government agencies or whatever. So My personal feeling is that my files are most useful on my computer, and there are times when I want to use the cloud to make them available on other devices and to make them available in some cases to other people. But I want to do that in a very limited way and in a way that I exercise control over. I want to do it in a way that especially allows me to control encryption, which you can't do when you're scanning directly through the cloud. So it's, if you're scanning stuff that is not at all sensitive and you really like having it in the cloud, then hey, great. But for any financial stuff or things that are sensitive, I am really reluctant to scan directly to the cloud. And I would say, there are lots of ways you can encrypt stuff on your Mac, and you can encrypt it before it goes to the cloud, but your Mac has to be a stopping point first. Another thing I'll mention with many of these cloud services, great that you can scan your documents directly to, let's say, Evernote. And yes, once they're in Evernote, you can search them, but what you're getting is not searchable PDFs. You're getting the ability to search in the cloud. So if you wanted to download the PDF, you could, but the PDF wouldn't be searchable after you downloaded it. So, and this is true of a number of cloud services. They'll take a raw scanned image. It could be a JPEG, a TIFF, PNG, whatever. They send it to the cloud. They will do OCR to let you search it as long as you're logged into their app or their website. But what they do not give you back is a searchable PDF that you can own, that you can have on your computer and share with other people, or that you can search for in Spotlight or something like that, because they want you to be locked into their service and keep paying them a monthly fee forever to be able to search your doc. That's their business model. They want you to keep paying them money. And I don't begrudge people, businesses, the ability to keep making money, but that is not the sort of activity that I want to be paying for every month. I have lots of OCR software that is paid for. I got plenty of storage space on my computer. I want to create searchable PDFs and just keep them.
That's interesting. So they're keeping the information. I mean, that sounds like a security concern, or a privacy concern, because if I decide to cancel Evernote, we'll pick on Evernote, but I'm not saying that this is what they do. But if you cancel that service and they maintain that information, you can re-download the PDF, and good, you've got it, and you can run it through something like PDF Pen Pro or PDF Pen.
You could, yes,
and that's fine. But what happens to all, in essence, metadata?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Evernote. And again, not to pick on Evernote particularly, but just since that was the example, they will let you individually encrypt documents, but it's individually, and it's not like globally encrypt everything. And I haven't actually tried. I don't know what happens to the searchability when you have encrypted something on Evernote. I don't know if you can still search it. Even if it's encrypted, I kind of hope that you can't, because that would seem awkward. But the point is that it's out of your control. You just really don't know if your stuff is in the cloud and it's not independently encrypted. You just don't know what might happen to it now or in the future. So I'm frankly a little nervous about that.
And so you would rather have the documents on your computer where you can control them, and if you want to do an online backup service like some of the ones we've talked about, those backups are encrypted.
Yeah, absolutely. Like CrashPlan, Backblaze, those kinds of services, the backups are encrypted, so that's cool. And even, with Dropbox, for example, it's one thing for me to say, all right, I will share just particular files in Dropbox by putting them in a particular Dropbox, subfolder that's shared with certain people. Or I can share them with myself on other devices by using some encryption app, and there are a whole bunch of them that work with Dropbox. Say I'm going to encrypt this folder or put an encrypted disk image on there, or something that I can decrypt on my different devices. So that's fine. there's nothing inherently wrong with using Dropbox or any of these services as the place where your stuff lives, but putting your stuff in an unencrypted form there runs the risk that either the company who offers the service or hacker or somebody else could get at your data, and I would rather not.
This edition of Mac Voices is supported by Blue Apron, the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. If you haven't tried Blue Apron yet, why not? Blue Apron makes dinner time a whole lot easier, a whole lot more fun, and a whole lot more delicious. When you sign up for Blue Apron, you get fresh ingredients delivered to your door in exactly the right quantities to prepare the amazing recipes that come with them. There's no waste, no annoying trips to the grocery store, and never a missing ingredient. You make the meals yourself with your family, and that means more together time, something that's often lost in today's world. Best of all, the meals are delicious, since they often help you learn more about the things you didn't know you would enjoy. There are other reasons to like Blue Apron. Each meal is less than $10 per person, making them very affordable. The produce comes from Blue Apron's network of over 150 local farmers that practice regenerative farming. Beef, chicken, and pork all come from responsibly raised animals, and the seafood is sustainably sourced under standards from the Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch. Finally, if you don't think Blue Apron can get to you, you would be mistaken. They can deliver to over 99% of the continental United States. You can check out this week's menus and sign up for your first 3 meals free with free shipping by visiting blueapron.com/macvoices. I promise you, you will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. That's blueapron.com/macvoices. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. Thanks to Blue Apron for their support of Mac Voices. Okay, so maybe I think we've beat cloud services to death, but I appreciate, because frankly I was aware of the scanners that would scan directly to the cloud. I'd really not taken the time to think through the whole process. So now that you have for me, I don't think I'll be doing it.
Yeah.
What are some of the other hot points here, Joe, that are covered in the book that are big changes since we last talked about this?
Well, let me look over my list here. We talked about privacy. So one of the services I mentioned in the book was a service that I used during the 5.5 years I was living in France. It's a company called Earth Class Mail, and you basically redirect your postal mail to this company, and they'll get a piece of mail. It could be a box, could be an envelope. They will scan the outside of it and email you a picture of it. And they'll say, hey, what do you want us to do with this? And you could say, throw it away, or you could say, forward it to me at this address, or you could say, yeah, please open the contents and scan the contents and let me see that so I can get my postal mail electronically too. And one of the reasons I used this service when I was living in France is that they would scan, if your envelope happened to contain a paper check, they would not only scan the check, but deposit it for you electronically. And that was very useful to me. So that service still exists, but they have sort of shifted to not really supporting individuals so much and more focusing on business. And as a result of that shift to businesses, their prices have gone way up. And it's something that I can't quite, I could imagine using them for business purposes, but I can't really imagine using them as an individual person anymore. So there are kinds of things like that where I recommended a service of some kind, and oh, look, it has disappeared or gone out of business, or oh wow, the prices have gone way up, or oh, their services are not quite what they used to be. There was an app, a web app, and the name is escaping my mind right now, but it was one of these services where it's basically outsourced scanning. So you could mail them a box of documents and they would scan them and then either recycle the documents or send them back to you and then charge you a per page fee. So there are fewer of those services now. I mean, they exist, but again, they're mostly oriented toward businesses where it's high volume and they have just one person to deal with, as opposed to lots of individuals sending them a small number of things. So that's been an unfortunate shift. There's less ability to do that now. I think I might have mentioned, I don't remember if I did, I might have mentioned in a previous interview that I wrote the documentation for the most recent version of Hazel. And Hazel's a great utility. I really like it. And I had talked about using AppleScript folder actions to notice when a folder has changed, like, oh, the folder that my scanner puts all the new incoming scans into, oh, look, there's a new file in there, so trigger this AppleScript to run OCR or something. So you can still do that, but Hazel is another way that you can watch a folder and take some action depending on what happens to it. So I talk about that a bit. Lots of new recommendations in terms of mobile apps for scanning, where you use your phone's camera instead of a scanner to snap a picture of, a receipt, business card, whatever, and then your phone can actually do the OCR. Another whole category that did not exist a few years ago when I last updated the book is the iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil. So I talk a lot about annotating PDFs. So this is one of the things that you used to have to print out something because I want to write on it. Well, now you don't have to print it. You just take the your iPad and your Apple Pencil, and you just make your notes right on the screen. I always have to, I've been signing my name on iPad screens a lot lately using my fingertip, and that's becoming more common. But if you happen to have an iPad Pro and an Apple Pencil, there's that whole way to do it instead. And a lot of things have changed, like Acrobat Pro. In the previous version of the book, I complained a lot about how the then current version of Acrobat Pro, which was 11, had lost most of its scriptability, and so there was no way to automate OCR in using an AppleScript folder action as I had done previously. So the newer version of Acrobat Pro DC, now brings back that capability. Of course, it handles it in a completely different way than the old app, so that's one of the reasons I had to rewrite my Apple scripts, but at least you can do it now, which is nice. So just everybody use any version of Acrobat Pro except 11. You can use 9 or 10 or DC. Just don't use 11 because 11 is not going to help you for automated OCR. Anyway, and I mentioned the Apple Watch because a lot of the things I said, but like have this list of reasons you probably don't. You used to need paper, but you don't need paper anymore. Like you're printing out your movie tickets or you're printing out your boarding passes. You don't need to do that. Just put them on your phone or your watch. So stuff like that. Just a lot of things have changed in the world that you couldn't really take advantage of a few years ago, and now you can. So I hit as many of those as I possibly could.
I wanted to ask you about the iPhone because the apps have matured to a point now that they are some pretty incredible apps. I think the iPads are a no-brainer as a wireless device for carrying and reviewing documents, whether you're going to annotate them or not.
Yeah.
But the iPhone and the document scanner thing is something that has been around for a while. It's definitely gotten better, and I'm kind of anxious to see the apps that you recommend. But are there any other ways we can leverage our iPhones in a wireless office environment other than scanning or just carrying documents?
So I can answer that in a couple of ways. So in the book, I have a few lists of iOS apps that are highly rated in the App Store. Some that are designed specifically for business cards, some that are designed specifically for receipts, and some that are designed for just sort of general documents. There's also DevonThink to Go, which is not for scanning, but it is a great, if you scan to your Mac, you can now sync. We've talked about DevonThink in previous interviews. You can sync stuff from your Mac to your iPhone or iPad right now much better. So that's something that I have been taking tremendous advantage of. I have many gigabytes of files that I've scanned and OCR'd on my Mac. They're on all my iOS devices. They're searchable. They're categorized exactly the same way as on my Mac. So that's really cool. And then there's another whole category of scanner-specific apps. So Brother makes one, IrisScan makes one, Neat makes one, Fujitsu makes one, Xerox makes one. And these are apps that let you use, well, they do the exact functions depend on the scanner, but one of the things they typically do is let you scan using Wi-Fi direct to an iOS device as opposed to direct to a computer. So that's safer than scanning direct to the cloud. Again, not something that I have ever really felt I needed to do, but if your workflow makes that important, then there are ways to do it. So those plus some other document management apps are kind of the categories that I have for iOS devices. And then, as I said, using your iOS device in place of just to display stuff on the screen that you would have otherwise had to print. So those are the major things I say for iOS devices.
We could go on and on. I can definitely see the scanning to my iDevice, especially an iPad, for legal documents or insurance policies or things that do get delivered in paper, but you would like to have them in a more convenient fashion. So, yeah. Well, we could just go on and on. This is a fascinating topic, and I'm anxious now to take a look at the book, do some upgrades to my system, hopefully do things a little better, easier, faster. Pick two.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So this is a full new revision of the book.
Yes, it's a big new revision. We added 10-ish pages and just expanded a lot of stuff. So it's third edition now. We enhanced the price. We felt like the price just didn't have enough kind of numbers in it, so we enhanced it from $10 to $15. But as usual, if you already have the older version, you will get a discount on the new version. You will already probably have received email from Adam and Tanya about that. But if not, you can click the Check for Updates link in the book and click ebook extras on the cover, and that will take you to a page that explains how you go about getting the discount on the upgrade.
Great. And I put in a personal plug for this just because it's something I really believe in. And as after the first book, after actually the first edition of the book, I started implementing some of those changes. I made changes when the second edition came out. And so even though the desk behind me doesn't always look like it's paperless, it would be 3 feet thick if I didn't do some of these things. So thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
So this is Take Control of Your Paperless Office, third revision. Go to takecontrolbooks.com and pick it up. And Joe, I don't know how long the purple hair is going to stay, but I hope it stays for a while. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. It's not going to last forever, but as we get older, hair color tends to change. So who knows what might happen in the future? Okay.
Previews of things to come.
Life is full of surprises.
Yes. Well, we will see you next time, because I'm sure there will be a next time, probably pretty soon.
Yes. There will indeed.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices. Again, go check out Joe's paperless office book and implement some of his ideas, if not all of them. It's going to make a big difference in your life and your ease of finding things. Believe me. Until the next time, thanks for watching.